Welcome to my garden in the middle of October. It's a little bit dank, not the perfect weather for gardening, so I'm going to put on the kettle, have a nice cup of tea and flick through the pages of a seed catalogue and hope that it'll inspire me for next year. Now, if you're a novice gardener like me, I would love it if you were to consider subscribing to my channel. All you need to do is tap the button marked subscribe, and that means next time you open the YouTube app on your phone, your tablet or your computer, one of my videos will be waiting for you. I'm trying to be more organised and not be put off by what I think are my gardening fails for this year. So it's autumn, the time for ordering seeds and bulbs for planting in a few weeks' time. And I want to see what I ordered last year from Sarah Raven. So I'm going to use my Linda Varta garden journal here, and I tucked bits of the catalogue which were relevant. And last year I bought the highly scented Narcissi collection, which were going to last for many decades, fingers crossed. These are the ones in my garden that put on lots of green growth, but there wasn't much flower. And then I bought 2 packs. I got the tulips in pastel, which were the super perennial mix again, so they would come up year after year. And I also bought some more highly coloured tulips. Tulips Rich, the Ginger Snap Mix, Blue Parrot, Cairo, Continental, Ridgedale and Time Out, which look absolutely gorgeous there. But I'm not convinced from memory that is what grew in my garden. Certainly I did get lots of tulips, well, a moderate amount of tulips, but they were all really short. So I am going to see whether perhaps I should look at another company. And I think my husband must have ordered from Mr. Fothergill's before, so I have grabbed his catalogue out of the recycling bin, and I'm going to have a look and see what interests me there. Now, really, I should have done what I said I was going to do and be more forensic and analytical about it. And I should have been making notes of all the gardens I visited over the last year. I've started taking videos, but I haven't really analysed what it is that I like in those videos of what I would like to grow in my garden. But I am thinking that I might try and replicate these mixes in order that if my tulips do come up again, they sort of come up in a coordinated way. And I might even plant some tulips on my husband's side of the garden. Highly coloured, soft pastels and mixed daffodils. Things I can't buy in the supermarket or at the florist is what I'm looking for. Things that are going to be a little bit unusual. So let's get going. So I've had my cup of tea, I'm sitting at the kitchen table, so I'm going to take a quiet moment and go through the catalogue. Now, a bit of advice that my friend Sue from Country Lane Flowers gave me when she came round to look at my garden a couple of months ago was to, if you do order online, is not to over-order with your first order, because you're bound to get lots of offers in the afterwards, and certainly that's true that since I have made an initial order, that I have started to get discount offers. So you'll need to have a look at those and see whether you think it's worthwhile doing. So I know I don't want to grow veg, and I'm looking specifically at bulbs. So I have already been through my catalogue already, just highlighting things I quite like the look of. And then it's a matter of doing the maths. And do you remember that video I posted? Would have been this time last year, perhaps a little more than a year ago, when I was working out on a piece of paper how much I was going to be spending and adding in the postage and the discount I was going to get from Sarah Raven. So I was thinking about growing anemones, and then I quite like the look of these, which are, oh, I can't say what they are. Here they are, Camiscia. So that's an option. I don't want anything short, so I can skip over the crocuses and the muscari, the grape hyacinths. I want things that are going to be long, tall, so I can cut them for growing indoors. This is a garden about cutting, not about a garden for growing's sake. So I've turned down the page here. Interested in this mix here, the successional flowering narcissi mix. So they grow, perhaps I hadn't noticed this before. It says the height, 15 to 45 centimetres. Well, 15 is only this tall. 45 is the length from, wrist to elbow and a little bit more. And if I buy 45 bulbs, 15 of each, I get a saving of £10.90. So it says, this collection of narcissi will provide colour from February through to May, starting with Rip Van Winkle, which is the frilly one. I'm not massively keen on that. I like different varieties, but I still want them to look like daffodils. Followed by Baby Moon. Oh, Baby Moon, is that the hint? Baby Moon will be the short one. And ending with a beautiful pheasant's eye, lovely in the border, perfect in pots and window boxes. I guess if I was super organised, I'd be flicking through the catalogue or going online to look at the Baby Moon and then perhaps seeing whether that's what I want. Or perhaps what I should be getting is the Naturalising Narcissi collection. Oh, Tate-a-Tate. See, Tate-a-Tate is short as well, isn't it? And then the Actia, which looks a little bit like the pheasant eye, and then Silver Chimes. So I've turned that page down. We need to come back to that. I quite like the idea of forcing bulbs. So normally I do white hyacinths. So it's got here the highly scented Bridal Crown, gorgeous variety with double creamy white flowers. Perfect for forcing and enjoying indoors where it will take several weeks to bloom. So one option. I have found that the paper whites that are known for their scent and for forcing, they do seem to be rather expensive. So a matter of going through and, do I get a mix or do I go for individual varieties and make my own mix up? Tulips. I have circled the perennial tulip collection. So let's have a look and see how that compares with the Sarah Raven that I bought last year, which is the super perennial mix. So 45 bulbs is £27.95 and 45 bulbs last year from Sarah Raven were £35.50. So this does seem to be better value for money. I wonder what the varieties were. It says Spring Green and Gronenland. Well, it's got Spring Green and Gronenland and Artist, so it's exactly the same mix. So if that's your colourway, it may be that Mr. Fothergill's, it might be better value for money. So although these are perennial, I'm just a bit nervous about where they are going to come up. And what I did with my bulbs last year, I was told that you had to wait until you had sub-zero temperatures, a run of sub-zero temperatures, because that would make it cold enough for planting the tulips. I made sure that I planted them, I think they were at least 20 centimetres deep. But what I did find, because I think last year I probably had them delivered in September and didn't plant them to November, that although I had unboxed them, a lot of them had gone mouldy. Now I spoke to my sister about that and she said, well, when it means unboxing, it actually means physically taking all the bulbs out. And she said I should have put them on a tray somewhere cool and put them, as if they were fairy cakes on a baking tray and kept them all separate. And I should have been looking at them every few days, and the first sign of mould or anything like that, I should have thrown that particular one away. So I've certainly learnt from that. So I think I've got myself, I think I might rip that page out then. I've got myself a good option here. A good light, well, it's exactly the same thing, isn't it? It's exactly the same pack. So I wonder if I can do the same for the paler tulips as well. So mixed packs here, early, double early mixed, 50 bowls, £24.95. Let's have a look. So what I will be doing is ordering online, and hopefully that'll keep a running total. So I think I need to do a little bit more work on my my vibrant colour of tulips, the ginger snap mix, and then to see about getting my mix as well for the daffodils. I don't think you can have too many, can you? And I am starting to leach into my husband's side. The long border that you saw me clear out in the summer it had been choked with bindweed. That's going to be my job for the next few weeks is having a look at that. I'm not interested in growing fruit, and perhaps planting some of my bulbs, and then the two halves of the garden will match. I'm wondering about seeds as well. Have I gone past the seeds bit? Potato, vegetable. I don't think there are any seeds. Oh, yes, there are, Nigella. So looking at seeds as well. So again, I can do the self-sown seeds, but anything that needs growing and potting on, that's my sister's department. The calendula, I haven't had much luck with calendula this year. They've only just come into flower. Again, I'm looking for tall things. I'm wondering about cornflower next time round. This is exactly what I'm after. I've circled that already. I have been doing a project, Julie and Julia, the flower edit. I had been reading Julia Clement's flower arranging book, Fun with Flowers, a treatise on the arts of flower arrangement. And over the course of last year, was it 2023, I attempted to make every single one of the arrangements in her book. I didn't quite get there. I've got the winter ones yet to do. But one of the flowers she used, because she got her gardener on the country estate or some country house to ship the flowers to her every week in London, that was the Monardia Didia, I'm useless at these last names, Didyma bergamot. And I think it was that flower, perhaps, I think she wrote it out all as one word, Monardia Didyma. I don't know how you say that. I'm munching those words up. But I have seen this growing in town in someone's garden, and I saw it at a garden centre, a nursery, when we were on holiday last year in the New Forest. So I'm quite interested in seeing whether I can grow these. So it says pretty tousled flowers and aromatic foliage, also known as bee balm. Grows to 3 foot, 90 centimetres. Does that S stand for sow? Sow it from February to May. Is that an L for late May? I haven't quite got the lingo of the seed catalogues. It's a bit like reading a knitting pattern, having to decipher it all. I'm presuming that's, oh no, it's not late May, it's inside. Grow February to May inside, but June to September outside for direct sowing, and then it flowers June to September. So it likes partial shade, good for the butterflies, and I won't even attempt to decipher these because I can't work out what they are. I perhaps need to get out the key and I'll be able to interpret this. 75 seeds, £3.22. I have been saving seeds as well. What have I saved? I've saved my own Nigella seeds, so I don't need to buy Nigella. And I have picked a couple of seed heads. I got some yellow poppies and I think also an Aquilegia. When I've come across the flower heads when I'm in town, I've just snipped one off and then let them dry out. So I've labelled those up and I'm going to give those to my sister to see whether she is happy to be my growing master. So let me know in the comments what it is you're thinking of growing next year, particularly if you're trying to grow flowers and have your own cutting garden. Now, there's a break in the rain. Shall we have a look around the garden? It may be the middle of October, but rather ironically, I think I've got more flowers in my garden now than I did in the height of summer. Let's have a look. Oh look, there's a bee. I can't get the camera to focus, but I seem to have a bee sleeping on the underside of this cosmos. And check out these vibrant purple clematis climbing up the support of our pergola. Now my husband and I both had an accident and we were clearing out weeds and cut back the clematis unintentionally, but it seems to have given it a new lease of life. It's a really vibrant purple, a cold purple. I'm not sure whether I like it. I think I prefer Clematis montana. That's the one that's pink, a little less showy. This is the patch of cosmos, which was the last to be planted up. So I have got lots and lots of buds waiting to burst and a fair few flowers in flower. So what I'm going to do is to really chop them back, well, crop them, cut them to enjoy indoors. It's a race now between getting the flowers to bloom and hoping that the frost doesn't arrive too soon. The hydrangea's looking a little bit bedraggled, but that's to be expected at this time of the year. I was really pleased with this year because it's actually put on loads and loads of flower. Last year I literally had about 3 blooms. So in the middle of September I cut some stems to dry indoors, and if you haven't already seen that video I will try and remember to link it in the description underneath this one. This is the stachys, which my husband planted, I think for the wildlife interest. The bees absolutely love it, but the flower heads have gone over now, and I'm just wondering whether now's the time to cut those back or to cut them down in the springtime after the insects have overwintered in them. Now, stachys leaves are used quite a lot in contemporary flower arranging work, and a couple of weeks ago I had a go at drying them, and rather to my surprise it worked really well. So if you're a flower arranger and you love contemporary design work, you might like to consider putting stachys on your shopping list and growing your own and drying your own next year. It's much cheaper than buying them online. The only downside is you probably need 100 leaves at a time, and you ideally need to crop the ones that are similar in size, and I think that's going to be more arduous than the actual drying stages of the process. This dark-leaved foliage, there are 3 dahlias here, the Bishop of Llandaff. I think they've got a deep red flower, but I've not seen that flower since last year. Now, my husband and I both thought these dahlias had been lost. We don't tend to lift them, just leave them in the ground, and literally they've only started to show some leaf cover in the last 3 to 4 weeks. I think probably our weather's been a little bit strange this summer. And can you see the single sedum there, that lovely ruby red colour? Let's have a closer look. That says autumn right there, doesn't it? And look, I'm just discovering some bindweed. I really thought the season of bindweed was over, and the only way to get rid of it is to keep on top of it. Keep pulling it out and weakening it. My husband likes to grow his echinacea in pots so he can tend to them and then plant the pot or put the pot in the garden for some instant summertime colour. As you can see here, these echinacea are at the end of their lives. I quite like the black seed heads, and I think the time has come when these need to be divided, and perhaps a few of them will come my way. But rather intriguingly, there's another pot of these on the steps down to the kitchen, which are only just coming into flower. And here they are. This pot of the echinacea has just sat all summer doing absolutely nothing. So I don't know what was wrong with it. Just a slow starter. And here's my feverfew. You might remember that I gave that a severe haircut after it had flowered. I think that was probably in August time, so it has coped quite well, and actually it did have a very limited second flush of flower. I've got some bulb growth. I think these are the grape hyacinths, the ones with the tiny blue flower. I would have had them as an indoor flower one year and then planted them out in the garden in the first bit of soil I found outside the kitchen door. I showed you my nerines last week when I pulled out the borage so I could see them more clearly from the kitchen window. I have a total tangle of cosmos here. And the bay tree is growing taller and taller, so I'm getting myself a list of things to do. I want to keep that bay under control, so I'm going to cut it back to about 2 metres in height. And also it's time to pull out the teasel. Can you see it in the background there? And here's a tiny flower. I planted these calendula, these marigold seeds, rather late in the season, at the beginning of June, and absolutely nothing happened at all. And they're supposed to be one of the easiest flowers to grow. But finally, right at the summer, well, it's autumn really, I've got a few flower heads. And what about this? Some of the beautiful white cosmos and a peachy pink single stem of, oh, I've forgotten the name. Something beginning with P. Penstemon, that's it. Penstemon. So I think this is a perennial. It's put on lots of bushy growth. So I might get a few more flowers this year. Let me know in the comments what you think. And my dahlias, these are the ones I planted last year and then thought, because I'd left them in the ground, they hadn't survived, and up they popped literally 3 or 4 weeks ago. So there's a lovely soft, again a peachy pink colour with a yellow centre, which looks really great, with the sedum behind and the heads of my tiny hydrangea. My scabious is starting to spread, and that's also giving me a second flush of tiny flowers. You can just see some of the buds starting to develop. Again, I'm not quite sure the camera will focus. I certainly need to dead head that one in the middle. My skimmia, that looks great as Christmas foliage. And then the acanthus, putting on lots of lush green growth. And the teasel is definitely going. I've got 2 really tall plants. I don't want to use it as Christmas time, although it is a classic Christmas foliage. It's just too spiky to work with. And if you try to spray the seed heads gold or white, it takes an awful lot of spray paint to get into those nooks and crannies. So I'm going to put a pair of substantial gloves on and pull those up. And probably I'm also going to dig up the new plants that are developing. I've let them do their own thing this year, but I don't want to be overrun with teasel. This is what my side of the garden looks like. It is autumn, so it's not overrun with flowers. Things have grown, but I must admit I have been a tiny bit disappointed the amount of effort I've put in versus the reward in terms of flower yield. I wonder whether those stinking hellebores will actually come into flower this year. I replanted them. Again, it must be a year ago now. They used to live in our front garden and didn't put on much growth and certainly never flowered. And what about all those tulips? Will they come back? The ones that I struggled to plant last year. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the tour around my garden and my browse through the seed catalogue.